So how did it impacted me, right? I think it's life changing. It's just a life changing experience in a different a culture that an opposite, I would say, an opposite culture that I always want to experience, not just by watching or reading or thinking, but or just traveling for maybe a few days or a few weeks, but actually being part of that culture in doing something that contributes to that culture, to the city, through an internship program. It's like wonderful. Yeah.
I remember you had that expo, right? And I went
Yes.
to see the expo. Yeah, that was nice. That was very nice.
Yeah, part of really
I
doing
took
it.
picture with your picture.
Yeah, I was the photographer. Nice
Very nice.
experience. I still remember it until today. Um, it's priceless.
Nice.
How about for you?
Oh,
Continue
the
your
trip
story.
to Italy. The trip to Italy, I guess, proved me that hey, I can go to places. I mean things, even though they seem to be so, I don't know, far away and hard to reach. They just seem to be like that. You can actually go or do whatever you want to do. That I can do things.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, I don't know, related to traveling or I don't know, buying something or just doing something, learning a new skill that I can do it, you know? So after that, actually, I started to feel a little bit down after that experience. The whole exchange year was very magical for me, and I learned a lot. And because I learned a lot in a short time, that pretty much, how to say, like shake my universe, the bubble that I was living in. And when big changes happened, big, let's say, discoveries, that's when I guess, yeah, you start to wonder a lot about life, about who you are, what you want to do. You go back to the I went back home after this, and I was there just wondering like, what now? I definitely don't want to go back working the way I did before, but this environment in which I am right now is just made for that. So I felt very trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I ended up being depressed. Yeah, I study psychology, by the way. But yeah, I must tell you something that those who study psychology, for some reason, they're all kind of crazy. So, and with tons of problems. Because yes, at one thing that we do that I also learned during psychology is like how complex humans are and how messed up the world is, they say, and
Mm-hmm.
that also shakes, the universe a little bit, but that was just theoretical things. It shakes it shakes you truly when you actually go out there and experience it on your own skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what's happening with me. I felt it. Like I'm like shit. Like I think I'm becoming depressed because I know the signs of depression. I know how this works, right? I knew it theoretically, but I never experienced it on my own skin. But I slowly realized that that's what's happening to me. Still, maybe also because I love research and stuff. A reason why I didn't try too hard to stop it is because knowing that I experienced something like that could be helpful for me for just understanding how it works, and because I end up understanding it better, I can help other people as well. But honestly, it's an experience that I don't recommend to anyone because depression is real and it's sucks. And I ended up being depressed for over 3 years. So I can say that
When we were in Italy until over 3 years
after Italy. So
after Italy.
after the trip, because it was just a trip, I stayed there only for like 10 days. After that, after going back home, so after that trip, I had to go back to Romania, and I'm like, oh, I'm back to the same environment that I was in before I left. And it's not suitable for me anymore because Vasti changed. It was not the same Vasti, right? So
Vasti
yeah,
change.
so that environment, that environment, it was not suitable for me anymore. So I felt like I don't belong there, you know? I feel like that's definitely not my place. And I started to become depressed because I'm like, what should I do with my life? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? I know things that I don't like, but what do I like, or what should I follow from now on, you know? And I was also in a relationship at that time. It was my first boyfriend. And we both still wanted to continue. Like I went back to my country, he went back to his country. So we're like, okay, let's go back and try to make this work and do that again in Germany where we met, you know, because we met during my exchange, uh, yeah, experience. And so I felt that, yes, oh my God, that's what I have to do. I feel like I have to escape from this environment that I'm in because it's definitely not suitable for me anymore. And I felt like, you know, my country is definitely not bad, don't get me wrong, but I feel that it's not good for me. And that the opportunities that I have there's they're not enough and they're not for me. You know, there are many things you can do, but they're not the things that I want to do, you know? And they're not things that can help me grow the way I want to grow or develop in the direction that I want to develop. So because I do believe also that certain places are good for certain people, you know, because certain places have a certain vibe and certain opportunities. And if that's what you want and that's what you need, that will be good for you. And for me, it felt not good. So I knew, okay, I have to go. I think that helped me because I was, you know, my depression was getting worse and worse. I was already depressed for like, let's say, 5 months, I think, or six already by that point. And then once I went to Germany, oh, that's when the real adventure started because it was so hard to be completely on your own for the first time. Because, you know, when you go on exchange, you have some, let's say the university or other people like helping you a little bit with accommodation, with this, with that. Still, at some point I was alone there as well because I'm like, you know, for the second semester they were like, oh, you already know how things work here. We're gonna focus on the new students, not on you. So I still had to find accommodation for myself. But um, going completely on my own was wild. And I went to freaking Frankfurt, which is a crazy city. It's not the best city in Germany, I must say. It's not that pretty. Living there for 3 years, for 2 years, I learned that it's not a pretty city. So I was sorry, Frankfurt. But I thought that it will be easier for me to find a job because it's, you know, like the financial economical capital, whatever. So I'm like, okay, it should be easier for me to find a job, but it wasn't. And I tried for months and months. My boyfriend, he was from South Korea, by the way. He came to Germany, and because, you know, for some reason the South Korean community is pretty good uh, in Germany and also Austria. I know now it's because of historical reasons after I watched a movie and then I researched the history. But their community is quite big and they tend to help each other, you know, a lot. And they tend to hire, like, if you're Korean and you want to work for a Korean company, they will prioritize you over other applicants, you know. So it was very easy for him to find a job. He didn't find a great job, but he found something. So he was able to work while I was still trying to find a job. And I struggled for, I don't even know, 4 months or 5 months. At some point, I worked in a food truck, which is definitely not suitable for me, you know? Food trucks are also kind of dirty and greasy and so on. And I'm not really into that. I'm all about cleaning. Maybe I have OCD to, you know, small degree. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty much more of a perfectionist and stuff. So I don't know, that job was definitely not suitable for me. And then I ended up finding a job at a hotel, which again was, I'm like, oh my God, I studied so hard. I have 2 bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and I'm going to work in a hotel. You know, for me at that point, the way I think right now is very different. I don't care anymore about, how society sees jobs. Like, this is a good job. I don't care about this anymore, as I mentioned before. But at that point, I was still thinking about that, what would people say if they know, like, oh my God, I'm working in a hotel? Because you don't need school to work in a hotel. I mean, now you study hotel management and all that tourism and stuff, right? But I felt like for the job that I was doing, I mean, it was bar, back of house, and reception. So I kind of learned a lot. If I want to open a hotel, I must say that actually I gained valuable knowledge. So the experience is very good. I think every experience, as shitty as we think it is at the moment we do it, it's still a lesson, and it can teach us a lot of things. So I learned a lot from that experience, but I must say it was absolutely terrible. I mean, it was very hard at that point because mentally I was struggling with accepting the idea that I'm working there. The fact that I was earning money, good money compared to what I would earn in Romania, that actually made me feel okay, a bit better, money. But then I'm like, working for money, and the more I was working, I worked there for like a year and a few months. The more I worked there, I felt like it's not worth it. Also, the environment was not that healthy because, that unnecessary competition, like every company, I guess, is like that. And also having guests that were kind of rude, and I was still kind of depressed at that point. I still didn't get out of my depression. I was doing better. I improved, but there's a point when depression also starts to be just flat, and it's like it's not very bad, but it's not good either. It's just like you're carrying a big bag of potatoes with you every day. Really, it just feels like that. It feels very heavy, but it's not super bad as it was before because at the beginning, you cannot even sleep. Like at that point, I thought that, oh my God, I need to buy shampoo today and wash a pair of jeans. This is way too much for a day. Like, how can I do this in a day? That's how messed up you end up thinking. Like, it's super bad. But at this point, it was not like that anymore. But the bag of potato was still here. And the rude guests were obviously making things worse. And at that point, I didn't know how to completely detach myself from, bad remarks or like mean people or whatever. I still cared to a certain level what others say, what others think. At this point, luckily, I'm free from that. And I must say it's so nice because in the end, it doesn't matter what others think and others say because none of them are paying your bills, okay? So you should not care. In the end, as long as you're minding your own business and you're being a good human being, I think other people's opinions don't matter at all. If I get sick, none of them comes to, the hospital to bring me soup. None of them is paying my electricity. So why should I care? I should just do whatever I do. And, my fear of like, what would people say? Because I studied so much and I'm working here. I guess I attracted that to myself because there was some rude guest who came to me and he's like, you're why, like, you're working this job here and like what did you study, and I told him like my background and he's like, yeah, sure, you have a master's degree and all that, and I'm like, yeah, like, why is it so hard to believe? I'm like, there's a reason why each one of us is working this job. It doesn't mean that we're stupid and we don't have education. Like, that was the moment when I actually stood up for myself. Usually I didn't have the courage to actually speak, back. But at that moment I was so pissed. I'm like, what what does this guy think? Just because he was wearing, the suit, and he had his beautiful tie, and he thought that, oh my God, he's so smart and so cool because he works in a consulting company or whatever, and he's looking down on me, and because probably I'm stupid in his eyes because I'm doing this job. But each one of us has their own story and a reason why we're at a certain point in life doing certain things, right? But most people, I guess, don't understand this. You have to think a little bit to understand or want to understand. Um, so yeah, I don't know, this experience, this job, the more I worked there, actually, the more savage I became. Like, the more I started to not care, Like, I worked when the minute, when my time finished, like, I checked the clock. I didn't care if there's extra work because I was not paid for it, and they were not treating me well either. My schedule was always a mess. Like, I feel like they were filling the schedule based on, like, uh okay, we made it good for this person, and then, oh, we need someone to work this day. Okay, let's just put Vasti. So I worked even like 9 days in a row with changing shifts. Like, one day work until 12, then you have to go. I work at like 5, and like, how is this humanly possible? And even though I tried to speak with them, they never cared about what I said. They always prioritized other people. Maybe it's also because, I don't know. At first I seem to be more like a sheep, like a cute mouse who just follow the rules and do everything they're told and accepting everything, because that's how I was at the beginning. But others stood for themselves from the start, so the company treated them better. So I learned that in a company, as long as you just swallow all the things that they throw to you, the less respect they will have for you. Or that's what happened to me, at least. And yeah, I ended up not living, like, how to say, in a good way. I mean, there was a conflict, between me and the assistant manager, which I'm actually proud of, because he was just trying to tell me, like, how I should work extra and sacrifice myself for the company. And the moment I asked him, like, what is the company doing for me? He had no answer, because when I talk about my shift, no one cares. When it comes to increasing the salary, no one cares. So why should I care for extra unpaid, work? Like, what is this? And after that, he was so mad. When I left the company, actually, everyone was able to keep, they bought for us a pair of Converse shoes. Everyone was able to keep their shoes, but me. I had to give it back because I was too savage. I don't know. How did I dare to speak? You know. The others, like, didn't speak. There are some that didn't talk back, and they just left the company. But I was still there, and I was still trying to, fight for myself. But in the end, I have to say, the moment I left that company, like the last day, was one of the happiest days of my life. It's like I felt so free, but I also felt proud of myself for actually being able to do that job, go through all that bullshit, and actually learning to actually stand up for myself, and not let people just play around with me. Um, yeah, but this was still like, I learned a little bit, a small change. Because then for the first time, I came to Korea after I resigned. Right after that, I came to Korea. I ended up
Was it from
living
Germany?
alone. Yes, from Germany. So I worked in Germany.
Yeah.
And after that, I came to Korea to visit my boyfriend at the time. Still the same one, the one that I met in Germany when we were students. And again, I had that moment, because when I was still a student in Romania, I thought that maybe one day I'll go to Korea, maybe when I'll be 50 or 60, after resigning, after I'll earn enough money to go there, I'll be able to go there. Because Korea is so far, right? So I thought that it's so unreachable, I guess. And once I landed there, I honestly, it took me like 5 days to realize that I was in Korea. For 5 days I was still, where am I? What am I doing here? I was like pinching myself, like, is this real? Seriously, I was
5 days.
Yeah, I was so, wow, where am I? I'm really eating, that bibimbap that I saw, I don't know, in Korean dramas or something. I'm like, wow. If I can get this far, if I can come to Korea, what else can I do? It's like, come on, it was not that hard to come to Korea. I just had to work a little bit more. Yeah, it was a hard time in Germany, but hey, I think it doesn't matter where you work or where you stay, you will still have problems. No matter how hard you try to run from problems, problems will still come to you. So at least I was in a place where I knew that I can, or I felt my heart told me that I can grow more and develop more. So yeah, I went
Wow.
through a lot of, hardships, but I think you go through hardships no matter where you are. And these are the hardships that I was meant to go through so that I grow and develop the way I was supposed to. And I think our instinct knows. I learned something. Whenever I tried to ignore my instinct, my intuition, it ended up being bad for me. But every time I followed it, it doesn't mean that you'll be successful or everything will end up exactly how you want when you follow your intuition. No, it means that whatever happens, you will learn something from it. Yes, you either will succeed or maybe you will go through some hardships, but you will go through the hardships that you have to go through so that this will prepare you for maybe something bigger that you want to do later, right? Um, I think also me coming to Korea, I had to go through other hardships before, to prove to myself that I can come here and also live here. I had
Yeah.
to probably start living in Germany first, so that now I'm ending up, living in Korea because of the way I was thinking at that point. Because other people can make this jump directly, but for me, I think my thinking was quite poor at that time. So I had to take it step by step.
Yeah. Share with us your journey in Korea.
Journey in Korea. So I think the moment I realized I can actually come to Korea and stay here because I felt like I want to go to Korea. I want to be in Korea. I didn't know exactly why. Of course, I like the K-pop Korean dramas and so on. I like the history actually. It really, I don't know. I really like the history. Don't know why. I like history in general, but I also found similarities between Korean history and Romanian history, and maybe that made it even more interesting for me. So I'm like, I need to go to Korea. I want to go there. Maybe that's why the universe sent me the boyfriend, and
Oh, wow.
thanks to that Korean boyfriend. No, seriously, because I was like, I knew that I want to go to Korea, but I just thought that that will happen very late, like later in my life, right? Uh, but I knew down there that I want to go. I want to go. So in the end, I ended up having a Korean boyfriend, and thanks to the fact that I had this Korean boyfriend, I actually came to Korea for the first time. And that's when I realized, hey, I don't have to be 50 or 60 to get
Mm,
here. I was just like 20 something, and I'm like,
mm.
oh, look at me, I'm in Korea. So because I stayed here for a month with his family and traveled around and saw places, and I'm like, oh my god, this is such a nice place. I definitely want to come and stay here. I just didn't know how, because again at that point I didn't think about studying anymore. I was thinking about working, but finding a job in a foreign country, especially if you don't speak the language, it's quite hard. So I was looking for jobs, but I didn't manage to find a job. And then I found out about this scholarship, the one that I just received. So this,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's a governmental scholarship. It's called like JKS scholarship, something like that, or KGSP, Korean Governmental Scholarship Program.
KGS.
And yeah, it's a very good scholarship because they basically they cover all the tuition fee, and they also gave you money to survive, you know. So what else do you need? You just have to study. And I'm like, okay, I can continue my studies. Because I didn't really think that much about being, doing a PhD before, because I'm like, I should work. But then I'm like, hey, I love studying, and what if I just continue my studies? To be honest, first time when I applied for the scholarship, I applied more because I'm like, I want to go to Korea, you know? But I didn't really have a very clear plan. What do I want to do with this scholarship? I mean, I'm studying for what? Like, why am I doing this? And maybe that's why I even failed. At that point, I didn't have a clear idea of what I want, right? And I was still depressed actually, and I was still not okay with myself. It was also the moment when my boyfriend broke up with me. So, oh my God, my whole, you know, existence,
Universe.
like, yeah, the universe crashed. Like, there was a big boom, and it was terrible. Again, things ended up being super bad for me. Like, depression got deeper. I went like so down. I also failed the scholarship, so I got the bad result. Like, I received it around the same time, so it was like two slaps in the face, So it was harder to take. And the more I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, this is, I don't know how others go through breakups, but for me, when I'm in a relationship, I'm there 100%. I don't even know how not to be 100%. Like, how can you be in but out at the same time? It's like, I don't know. So, because I was in, and this was a 3-year long relationship, I was pretty devastated, I was crying a lot, and I was a complete mess for like 6 months. But right after the breakup and after receiving you know, the answer that I failed the scholarship, I'm like, okay, I still feel like my heart still wants me to go to Korea. I really have to go there. Okay, but I have no money. I didn't get the scholarship. I cannot find a job. So what can I do? So I started searching what else I can do. And I found out that, if you want to learn Korean, you can come to Korea and study Korean for like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and so on. And but I when I checked the price, I'm like, oh my God, this costs so much money. Honestly, these programs are insanely expensive. And I had no money at that point. But I was like, okay, I need to go. I don't care. I will find a way to go there. So it was April, I think. No, it was March still, probably March, I think, or April. Anyway, I started telling my friends that, look, I need to go to Korea and I need to save this much money until the end of the year. So it was April. I'm like, in December, I have to be in Korea. I have no money. How can I save this much? Because I wanted to come to Korea for 6 months to study Korean. And so, when I started telling people that I need to find a job and earn more, like a lot of money in a very short time, one of my closest friends told me about her cousin, that she has a company in the UK, and it's not going to be a great job. It was a cleaning company, but I like cleaning. I don't really like necessarily cleaning after other people, but I enjoy cleaning when I do it for myself. Um, and at that point, I was so desperate. I felt so strong, in my heart that I need to go, that I'm like, I don't care. Like, I need to do this. So I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's cleaning. I'm going to do it. If it brings the money that I need, I'll make the sacrifice. And I think making sacrifices on a short term, if you have to do this for an unlimited time, I think it definitely sucks your soul and it destroys you. But if you know you're doing it for a short time, having a goal in your mind, you're doing this now because you have a bigger plan later, and this is going to help you to reach that, goal. I think it's worth it. That's what I learned at that time. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to UK and I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna make the money, and I'm going to Korea. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. And I was obviously sharing my plan with my friends. Everyone thought that I'm completely crazy, that it makes no sense, that I shouldn't do it, that even if you go to Korea, what will you do there? And like, it's like a waste of time and all that, Um, but I didn't care because my internal voice was so strong. I need to do this. I cannot see myself doing anything else. So I'm going to do it. And so I went to UK and I ended up, vacuuming while crying, mopping floors while crying. And so because I was still not okay, I was still not over my breakup, and I was still feeling, also, again, I had that complex, I studied so much and I'm doing this job. I'm cleaning houses. But as I said, right now, I think that was a great thing. And how to say, good job, Vasti. I was like, I could do that.
Yeah, pat yourself on the back.
Yeah. And also, it was also a lesson for me on not to look down on these jobs, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing cleaning, And there's people who enjoy doing it, and they can make, money in a fair way, and they can pay their bills and feed their families like this. And that's totally okay, There's absolutely nothing wrong with that job. But because of the society and the way I grew up, I just thought about it. Oh my God, like, what am I doing? And so I saved the money I needed.
Wow.
And then,
congrats.
While I was still in UK, I had a call with my mom. And this is actually a call that I will never forget. But that's because my mom said some hurtful things. And the things she said made me realize some things about our family, especially parents, Like, obviously, I love my parents, and I'm very grateful for what they did for me and the fact that they took care of me and they helped me as much as they could. But I must say that parents can be also very toxic and very selfish. So when I had this call with my mom, I told her that the reason I'm in UK, I usually tend not to share too much with my mom because my mom is always discouraging me. Because whatever I want to do, it's always, it doesn't match with what she thinks is good, Like, we're very, very different. And I think she told me before that she lived her life taking decisions with her head, not her heart. And I don't see her happy, to be honest. She isn't happy. She knows that. Also, the relationship between her and my father was never good. Still not very good. And she's, I guess, proved to me that, living your life, deciding like this, because your mind is very limited. Like, you have here, it's like a laptop, right? You have here what you put inside and other people put inside and what society put inside, right? So you end up taking decisions based on the information that you collected here. While I think your intuition knows beyond that. It knows more than that. It knows the things that we cannot explain. And I feel like, as I said, every time I didn't follow my intuition, I noticed that I'm unhappy that I didn't do well not following it. And every time I followed it, I didn't necessarily succeed, but I got the lesson that I needed. And after realizing this, I'm like, definitely analyzing things, with my, obviously you have to use your brain and analyze things, but not decide with your brain. I think your heart needs to decide, You use your brain to do what your intuition is asking you to do. I think this is the how, what is here, how here. Yeah. And my mom, during that phone call, she told me, like, she asked me this: who do you think you are to go to Korea and study there? And I was like, what do you mean? Who do you think you are? Like, who should I be? Like, do I have to be? This is the way I grew up since I was a child. Like, we can do this. This is for us. Like, or if I got a bad grade, you will become nothing. Your life was gonna be terrible. You're gonna be a failure. You are a failure. I just heard constantly things like this. So now she's repeating the same thing. Like, who do you think you are to go there? Like, but for the first time, I'm like, you know what? Like, what? Should I be someone special? Who should I be? I'm just me. I'm Vasti, and this Vasti wants to go to Korea and study there. And I believe that I deserve it and I can do that. Like, who should I be? And I realized that this comes, that maybe she was not even aware of what she's doing. So I don't think it is done intentionally. But our parents can be very selfish and very manipulative without them even knowing. They don't know what they're doing, They're doing it because of their own fears. It's because if I come to Korea, I'll be too far away from her. And her dream was like for me and my brother to be close to her or whatever, live together, even though my family doesn't live together. We're all separately, So I even asked her, like, what do you mean by living together? Even now, we're all living separately. And why? Like, what exactly do you want me to do? Like, why should I follow you? Like, you took your decision when you were my age, right? Where you want to live and what you want to do. Now it's my time to decide. And if you want to be with me, you're always welcome wherever I am. But don't force me to stay where you want me to stay. What about what I want? Who should do what I want? Should I push that to my children later and we're in a vicious cycle? On and on, I don't think that's the way it works. Like, I have to live my life according to how I think I should live. So that was, the moment I realized parents can be a very terrible influence, And us as children, we have to be very aware of what they're doing, because that's the only way to escape from their negative influence. Because most of them don't realize what they're doing. They're not conscious when they're doing these things, So we have to be one step ahead. And I don't know, like, just call them out, like, hey, mom, that's not nice. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't say that. That's not good. And I understand where it comes from, but it's not okay. And I called her out later about this. But anyway, came to Korea those 6 months. That was the time when I escaped from depression. I really felt that those potatoes, I threw them away.
Nice.
I don't need these potatoes anymore. So I started to feel like I can live again. Like, suddenly the sky was blue. I could see like heart shapes in the asphalt, like on the ground, just random shapes or whatever. I could enjoy the shape of the clouds or the colors of the leaves, which I couldn't do for like over 3 years. And it was the moment I pretty much break free. I broke free. And I knew that because